The story goes that when Shankara was to be initiated by his guru, he was looking for his guru. And interestingly, his guru was looking for him. Recently, the cave has been excavated near the Narmada in Omkareshwar. Some years ago, Govinda Bhagavatpada, his guru, was waiting for the disciple to come. The story is for 1,000 years he waited there, knowing that the disciple will come. The guru needs the disciple as much the disciple needs the guru. It is not easy to get a good disciple. Swami Vivekananda was, the disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Ramakrishna had to run behind him to catch him into his fort. He used to run away and then he was constantly at him. To be able to get an able disciple is not easy, and for the disciple to get a competent guru is not also so easy. Therefore the Upanishad says, Ascharyo Vakta Kushalosya Labdha Ascharyo Jnata Kushala Anusishta. Wonderful is the disciple, and wonderful equally is the guru who imparts knowledge to the disciple. So all of us are disciples of the great rishis. Although we have not seen them physically, we believe their thoughts are with us. And the great mantras which has come down over thousands of years to us, untarnished, absolutely undamaged by time. These mantras are the words of the rishis as they spoke. And the vibrations are still there. We believe that the rishis are there somewhere blessing us all the time. So we can claim to be Vedantins because we belong to the Vedanta society. We have come here for this conference, and having been saturated with Vedanta at least for 24 hours, we can claim reasonably to be Vedantins. So as Vedantins, we will not say we spiritualize our life. We say we are spiritual, but we seem to have missed on our being spiritual. This has been repeatedly said, and we will continue to say this. Punarukti is a dosha, is a defect in speech. You don't repeat the same thing again and again and again. Shankara raises this question in the Gita Bhashya. There's a shloka well known. This Atman is not burnt by fire, it is not wetted by water, it is not dried by air, it is not cut by weapons. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nachainam kledayantyapo, nashoshayati maruta. Good enough. The next shloka says, Achedyo yamadahyoyam, akledyo shoshayevacha. The same thing is repeated. Shankara raises the question in the Bhashya, why is it that the Lord is saying the same thing again and again and again to Arjuna? In the Gita you will find one word occurs often, Bhuya, again. Param Bhuya Pravakshami. Oh Arjuna, I am going to tell you again. Oh, you don't repeat the same thing again. Why? The scripture has the authority to repeat it again, because dull intellects like us will not be able to understand unless you repeatedly say this. The mothers who are here, particularly the Indian mothers and the Hindu mothers, were very fond of repeating the same thing. They are so fond of the children, doting on the children all the time. Be very careful, don't get cold. Oh, Mama, I am all. No, you are not all right. You be careful, you eat well, sleep well. They'll say the same thing again, and we used to get irritated when the mothers used to say. Therefore, the scripture says, the great legacy through the scriptures which we get are like kind mother. Janani Iva, there's a statement made. So touching. The great Shankara makes the statement in the Kathopanishad Bhashya. Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varannibodhata, well known. Swami Vivekananda made it more well known. Like arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. There he says, very touchingly, the Upekshitavyam iti anukampaya aha matrivat, like a kind mother, compassionate mother, the scripture says, the Upanishad says, the Shruti says, please do not neglect this teaching. With folded hands, I am crying to you and beseeching you, please do pay heed to this teaching. In another place, the Kathopanishad says, Matrapitra Sahasrebhyo Paramahiteshna Vedena Uktam Nupekshitavyam. This teaching given by the Vedas, by the Shruti, by the Vedanta, more compassionate by thousands of parents, mothers and fathers. So the scripture is so compassionate. Why? Because if somebody is in bondage and the person who is free looks upon, feels, oh, he is in bondage, he should be freed. Suppose I've eaten my fill and I see a person who is suffering of hunger. Oh, he has not eaten anything, I should give him something to eat. I should liberate him from the clutches of hunger. So that compassion automatically comes to you. Yesterday our Swamiji was speaking about the Guru, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. So one of the characteristics of the Guru, apart from these two, is Paramakarunika. He is extremely compassionate. He comes down to the disciple's level and is so sad that the disciple is still in bondage. Because I am free, the Guru feels, this disciple has to be freed from bondage. He will go to any lengths to see that the disciple is liberated from bondage. That is the work of the Guru, which is the scripture. The Shastra is also the Guru. We believe there is a Shastra Kripa. Kripa is grace. Apart from the grace of a human being is the Guru through which the divine grace flows. Even the book itself is a Guru because it gives you the teaching. The book which contains the teaching of the Rishis is also the Guru. Now with the CDs are Gurus, the pen drive is the Guru, the Google is the Guru. The Google is a great Guru. It contains so much of knowledge. The Google, which is conscious, is called Hiranyagarbha. Very simple. I tell the people, what is Hiranyagarbha? Do you know the Google? Yes. If Google becomes conscious, it is Hiranyagarbha. It is the cosmic mind in which everything exists. So recently some people have written beautiful stotras in the Google. Google Sharanam Braja. Yesterday I got one. I take refuge in the Google for anything that I want. Starting from where I will get the best coffee to how I can proceed this path. The GPS, for example. The GPS is the great Guru which guides you. After 15 meters, take the exit to the left. And then you make a mistake, recalculating, take a U-turn. The scripture says take a U-turn. You have been going too forward. Paranji Khani Vitrinat Swayam. You've been Bahirmukhi, you've been going out. Take a U-turn and go inward. And when you reach the destination, the GPS is so happy. You have reached your destination. And the Google voice is usually female. Because the mothers are more compassionate than the father. Fathers are too strict. They wanted to follow the rule. The mother will say, don't tell the dad, I will protect you. So the scripture says, like a kind mother or a father, please follow these instructions and great will be your gain. And it tells you the truth in such a way that you will be able to swallow it very easily. The truths sometimes become very hard. The highest truths are put in the simplest language. That is the genius of these great acharyas. Shankara's language, for example. Even a child knowing the simplest of Sanskrit, school level Sanskrit, will be able to study and understand Shankara's versions. Did not Shankara know Sanskrit well? Could he not make it complicated? He could. But what is he writing for? Spiritual genius and literary genius, intellectual genius means making the most complex truths simple. Pedantry, sophistication are for people who want to show off. They are called scholars. Who is a scholar? A scholar is a person who can take simplest truth, make it the most complex. There's a pride in that. There's a joke about a Christian theologian who wrote about the various qualities of God. In Christianity, as you know, God is compassionate, God is simple, God is great, God is majestic, God is purity. Then a theologian wrote a 1,000 volume on simplicity of God. An old pious Christian lady said, "Is the simplicity of God so complex?" So these great avatars, great genius, read the Bhagavad Gita, for example. Read the Ramayana of Valmiki. You get the simplest language so that you can easily swallow it. Swami Vivekananda once said, you know what is my work in the West? I want to give them hard, dry reason, softened in the sweetest syrup of love, made spicy with work, and cooked in the kitchen of yoga so that even a baby can easily digest it. And he did that all his life. Now we are spiritual beings encased in a body. The fundamental difference Vivekananda pointed out between the Indian way of thinking and the Western way of thinking is that in the West, man is supposed to be the body and he gives up the ghost. Even in language, somebody dies and you say, oh, he has given up the ghost. He is a body and he has given up the ghost. In India we say, he has given up the body. Sharir Chadidij. Sharir Path has taken place. He is a spirit who has kicked out the body and then renounced it as a worn out garment. Vasam Sujirnani, etc. in the Bhagavad Gita. That means the fundamental outlook is we are the spirit encased in a body. It's called Dehi in the Gita. A Deha means a body. Dehi is a person who is living in the body. Ini pratyaya. Ini means possessing a body, having a body, living in a body. So we are the spirit living in a body. The Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter calls it Kshetra and Kshetragya. Kshetra is a field and Kshetragya is a person, the conscious entity who is manifesting this field. Like the electric bulb is burning here. The electricity is the Kshetragya and the manifestation of the electricity is taking place in this Kshetra, which is the bulb. Also equally important. If the bulb is not there, you will not see the manifestation of the electricity. And if the bulb is there, electricity is not there, you will not see anything at all. So the fundamental thing is we are the spirit encased in a body. The realization of this is the first step to spiritualizing our life. Spiritualizing our life is so interesting, important, easy. First, change your attitude that we are the spirit living in a body. We may the body, we may pamper the body, we may eat and drink and make merry. Doesn't matter. But there is a spirit living in the body who is doing all this. And we are that spirit. The identification with the spirit in the body all the time, rather than identifying yourself with the body and the senses and the mind, is the first step to realizing that you are the spiritual being. So when you are the spirit living in the body, your attitude changes. That spirit is divine. Not only that the scriptures say that, Bhagavad Gita and all the various religious prophets and avatars have said this. Obviously, this has to be conscious. If the spirit living in the body, it has to be conscious. Not that it is conscious of something else, but it has to be conscious of itself. Swami Atmapriyananda Vedanta Purushottama, as the Bhagavad Gita says, it has to be a self-conscious entity. It doesn't require any other proof. This has been discussed yesterday elaborately by most of the speakers. It has been told and retold until you are tired of listening to this. This is a self-conscious entity. This doesn't require anything else apart from itself to reveal itself. We call it Swayam Prakasha. Prakasha is actually revelation. Does the self require anybody else to reveal it? No. As Swami Atmapriyananda yesterday beautifully said, that you are and you are awake. That's it. In science we say, how do you prove it? Everything has to be proved. Vedanta is asking, are you sitting here? Are you sitting here? Are you sitting here? Yes, I am sitting here. Prove that you are sitting here. Prove. Proof. I am sitting here. The proof is I am here. I am here is the only proof that I am here. You don't need anything else apart from being to prove that you are. So I am is the only thing which is self-evident, proven without the logical mind coming in and trying to prove it. This self-evident, self-revealing, eternally present being or existence is my reality. So identify with this. At the moment it could be imagination. Many people have said, oh, I'm only imagining something, I feel I have the body. When I pinch me, I feel the pain. I have a pain in the leg, I have a pain mind with so many pains, how do you say I am painless and I am free? You are painless and free, but you are identifying unnecessarily with that pain. Ramana Maharshi will ask you, did you feel the pain when you went to sleep? Oh doctor, I can't bear the pain anymore, please put me to sleep. Why? Because when you go to sleep, you are not there as a little entity ego, and therefore the feeler of the pain becomes absent, not the pain goes away. That means there is a state of existence in which you don't feel the pain, that is the real state in which you are always. Suppose you say it's an imagination, let it be an imagination. The answer I would give, we are imagining so many things unnecessarily. How many imaginations do we have? I don't have a car, I have a beautiful car tomorrow. I will have this. Hundreds of imaginations which are morbid imaginations which I have. Why not have one good imagination? Good in the sense it has been repeated, it has been proven, and hundreds of thousands of seers and saints of all religions have certified to this. As scientists, why not try it out? I am not saying that it has been true, it has been practiced. Try it out, let us see. We have so many imaginations. Morbid imagination is one thing we are always living with. There's a story behind this morbid imagination. Swami Yatishwaranji, a great teacher, once said, there is a person who was always carrying a cage. Somebody asked him, why do you carry a cage? What is in it? You see, when I get drunk, I see snakes. So I always carry a mongoose so that the snakes may be driven away. They are imaginary snakes. Oh, this is also imaginary, the cage is empty. So we are imagining so many things. We are imagining we are the body, we are imagining we are the mind, we are imagining we are little, we are imagining that we are constantly suffering. Hundreds of imaginations we have. Why not substitute that by one imagination saying we are the eternal spirit? Let it be imagination today. Today's imagination is tomorrow's realization, as they say. The first step in the beginning of spiritualizing our life is to change our attitude. What is called in German, there is a word called Weltanschauung, they call it. World view. You change your world view that I am the spirit in this body. I am the eternal spirit, Satchidananda Swarupa, Satchit Ananda, and Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava, as Swamiji yesterday beautifully said, quoting from Shankara. Shankara is very fond of this phrase, Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Mukta, he says, Nitya has to be added to everything. Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Mukta, Nitya Buddha. You're eternally free, eternally awakened, and eternally pure. I am that entity. First let us begin with that. Are we comfortable with this? No. At least let us imagine for about 10 minutes. At the end of this talk, you will know what you want. Suppose we identify yourself with the spirit. Vedanta says, if you do not identify with the spirit which you really are, moving away from it, you commit the great sin. Christianity is full of sin, but there is a meaning to it. See, these great doctrines were given with a tremendous ideal in view. Later on, they could have degenerated into something else. Idea of original sin is an extraordinarily great concept. What it means is that you are eternally pure. Adam was eternally pure. Adam was Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava Atman before he ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Swami Vivekananda makes a remarkable one-liner there in one of his talks in Thousand Islands. Adam fell when he wanted to know. Before that, it was knowledge itself. Think of this statement. He was Jnana Swarupa. The moment he thought, I should know, Triputi came in. Jnata, Gyeya, and Jnana. The knower, the known, and knowledge. The moment duality came in, there was a fall. So moving away from your real nature is a sin called aparadha. In Sanskrit, we call it aparadha. Papa is a different concept. Aparadha means is something which is a terrible blemish, you should not have done this. And the greatest aparadha, Vedanta says, is prajna aparadha. Prajnaparada means the prajna, the consciousness that you are that entity. You move away from it, you forget about it, and identify yourself with things which are not conscious. That I am not this. I am this body, I am this mind. And we identify with ever so many things. If there is a financial recession which happened recently, I heard, the cardiologists were working overtime. People were getting heart attacks. People were hospitalized because bank balance is gone. So I am identifying with my bank balance, with my credit cards, with my WhatsApps. Constantly I am identifying with all this, I am identifying with my degree. Somebody calls me something, then no, I am not, I am a professor so and so. I am doctor so and so. I hold this position. So constantly identifying myself with all this, in Sanskrit it is called abhinivesha. Abhinivesha means identifying with something. So we have abhinivesha with ever so many things outside, with my body, with the mind. People are identified with so many things. Somebody has beautiful eyelashes. Oh, did you see my eyelash? And you're so happy that you are. So people identify with their faces, identify with their bodies, identify with their indriyas, identify with their minds, identify with their knowledge. A series of identifications because of which we suffer. Vedanta says, why don't you de-identify? You are the real spirit. So let us begin with this world view, imaginatively at least, because believing to some extent in the great acharyas, who of course did not come to mislead us. My take on this will be, do you mean to say these great acharyas and the prophets and the saints and the sages and the avatars came to mislead humanity? No, of course they didn't mislead you. When they say this, why not give it a try? So we are the spirit. Let us begin with that. If I am the spirit, what about you? I can't believe that I am the spirit and you are a devil. If I am an angel, you also have to be an angel. Because what is the principle behind this? It's a philosophical and scientific principle. The scientific principle is the microcosm and the macrocosm are identical. Science also will vouch for that. Of course, Vedanta and philosophy will vouch for that. I am the spirit which is the microcosm, and the macrocosm which is outside me, the vast universe, both of them are identical. The micro-macro equation, which manifests at the highest level as Aham Brahmasmi, the Atman, which is the microcosm, and the Brahman, which is the macrocosm, are the same entity. Now, if I am divine as the microcosm, and the microcosm and the macrocosm are identical, the macrocosm also should be per se divine, QED. This has to be true. If the macrocosm outside is also divine, the entire universe is pervaded by the divinity. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Cover this entire universe with the Lord, with the divinity. So where have we arrived now? Starting from saying that I am the divine entity and identifying myself with the entire universe which has to be divine, because the micro-macro equation tells me that, I come to the conclusion the entire universe should be divine. If the entire universe should be divine, all of you sitting in the part of this universe should always be divine beings. See how the entire worldview is changed through Vedanta. All of you sitting here, everybody has to be divine. If everybody has to be divine, when I interact with you, divinity is interacting with divinity. Not body and body, not mind and mind, not intellect and intellect, they will always clash. Two intellects always collide and clash. You can never see two doctors agreeing. If you take a prescription to somebody and then refer to another doctor, he'll always say, who gave you this? Did you take these medicines? No, doctor. Saved. Don't take these medicines. There's another joke about a person who went to a doctor. Somebody said, hey, that doctor doesn't know anything. Why did he go to, poor man, he is opening a chamber sitting there. He has to survive. So I just to pamper him, I went there. What did he do? he prescribed medicines. Did you purchase those medicines? Yes, I did. Why did you purchase? No, you see the medicine shop, that person is opening the shop and there is so much of hope, he has to survive. So I purchased. What did you do? Did you take the medicine? No, I threw them away. Why? I have to survive. So, we realize that I am divine and everybody is divine. It is divinity interacting with divinity. Two intellects always will clash, two lawyers will never give the same opinion, two doctors will never agree, and two scholars, they will always say something. One scholar says, the other scholar will write something else. And they will politely say, oh, I don't know much about this subject, I am a fool, I don't know much about it. But that means there's a way of pampering their ego by playing humility. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu famously said, Deenata or Ahankar is worst. Deenata means feigning humility. The greatest ego is to say, I am egoless. I am so humble, I am so egoless. So that is the greatest ego. So the ego plays in so many forms. Now, if you remove the interaction, the body-body interaction, the mind-mind interaction, the intellect-intellect interaction, go for the divine-divine interaction, then what happens? Divinity cannot quarrel with another divinity. Because I am also Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava, you are also equally Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava. So Shuddhata and Mukti and Mukta, Nitya, they can never come into conflict. Therefore, the entire interaction, interpersonal interaction, interstate interaction, international interaction, undergoes a sea change. So this you spiritualize not only your individual self, but you spiritualize the interaction which you have with somebody else. Oh, that gentleman was asking yesterday about the relationship. This is a very, very important question. When you talk about the Atmarama, there's so much absorbed, Vivikta Sevi, etc. What about interaction? You come out and even for begging food, you have to meet people. So how do you interact? How do you look upon them? The answer given by Vedanta is that it is divinity interacting with divinity at the level of a divine perception. If you go from a slightly technical point of view, most of you are now reasonably well equipped for this technicality. A human personality according to Vedanta is 5-layered. This is one paradigm which is most rational and scientific according to me, and I always carry this paradigm. You see, whenever you study Vedanta or any subject for that matter, keep a paradigm, a map with you, which suits you, which you are comfortable with, and try to put other ideas which come into that map. In my case, I have always found the Panchakosha paradigm to be the most scientific and most rational. What does it say? It says, look at yourself. You go to the mirror, look at yourself. What do you see? You see your ugly face, which you think is the most beautiful in the world. Everybody look at the face. I used to think, what is so beautiful about the face? That is self-love. Because, once again, Vedanta says, you love yourself the most. So even at the bodily level it manifests. You see the body. So Vedanta calls it Annamaya. Annamaya means it's matter. Obviously the body is matter. After some time you feel a peculiar sensation in your stomach. A few cookies and a cup of tea. Hunger, thirst. This is Pranamaya. Then you have to read something, you have to write, you want to understand. The mind is functioning, so many thoughts come in. The Manomaya. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manaya, up to this you are at the level of matter. The simple truths of Vedanta you understand. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, these three are purely at the level of matter. And there is another paradigm which you can also have, which is also useful, the Shatchakra paradigm in Tantra. All of you know, I suppose, the Shatchakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Ajna, and Sahasrara. Sahasrara is the seventh. So all the others are called Shatchakra. So the Mooladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura, These correspond roughly to the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya levels. And as long as the mind remains in these levels, you are remaining at the level of an animal. The body, eating and drinking and procreating, sense pleasure, these are the things in which you live. Even the Manomaya does not free you. You may have great thoughts, but still you may behave like an animal. Once you come to the level of Vijnanamaya, which corresponds to the Anahata in the heart, according to Tantra, the first time you feel you are the spirit, that you are a spirit living in the body, is realizable for the first time when you awaken your heart. That's why the heart is considered an extremely important entity in Vedanta. And the Vedanta says there are three kinds of heart. One is the physical heart, which everybody knows, which is to the left, which the cardiologists look at, bypass surgery and so on. That's called the Bhautika, the Bhautika heart. Then you have the emotional heart, which is the seat of emotions. You cry, you laugh, and you say, heartfelt thanks, heartfelt love. Which is that heart? That heart is the emotional heart. The third heart is called the spiritual heart. The spiritual heart is the seat of the spirit. Ramana Maharshi says from his experience that the spiritual heart is to the right, while the physical heart is to the left. We do not know. He gives an interesting example. Heart is the seat of I. Whenever somebody says, who did this? I did it. You don't say, I did it. Even people with left hand always say, I this way. Any left-handers here? You can vouch for it. So Ramana Maharshi says from his experience, the spiritual heart is to the right. That means there is a heart apart from the physical and emotional heart, which is called the spiritual heart. When this heart is awakened, you first realize yourself as a spirit in the body. But even now you have not realized fully yourself as a spirit. Therefore, this spirit which is encased in the body, still conditioned, not fully free or awakened, is called technically the Jivatma. We were discussing Jivatma, Brahma. This Atma is a very complicated term in Sanskrit. Be very careful with the Atma. Because Atma means the body, Atma means the mind, Atma means the intellect, Atma means the Jivatma, Atma means the Paramatma, Atma means the Pratyekatma. So whenever somebody says, which Atma are you meaning? Sanskrit is such a wonderful language. The same words are used in different contexts and different connotations. Now this Jivatma, Jiva means a person who is embodied. This Atman which is embodied in the body and the mind encased and conditioned by the mind, but still awakened in consciousness that is apart from the body and the mind. Vedanta gives the example, very interesting example, Tapta Lauha Pinda. Lauha is an iron ball, and when it's heated, red hot iron ball. So the iron part of it is the Atman, is the spirit, but the Lauha Pinda is the body and the mind. But they are mixed up together. It is aviviktam sat, that is the language you see. Avivikta, not completely separated out, but our effort is to separate this out. You realize yourself as the Jivatma, or the spirit who is living inside the body. Now, when you come this far, through Guru's grace and your sadhana and purity, once you come to the stage which is the Vijnanamaya, the Vedantic take on this, the relay source, the scriptures say, this Vijnanamaya is the seat of intuition. It is not intellect. Very difficult to have any word for this in English. J. Krishnamurti has called it intelligence, which is apart from the intellect. And some people have called it intuition. When you come to this stage, you can call it Dhi, the Gayatri Mantra talks about this. The whole effort of the Gayatri Mantra is to awaken this Dhi, to realize yourself as the spirit in the body. So the system of education in India has been to awaken your consciousness that you are a spirit in the body. So how the spiritualization takes place through education. Somebody was telling me today, oh, you were telling me, how spirituality needs to be mainstreamed into education. In education, we are constantly taught about physics and chemistry and matter. But nothing is taught about our own selves, who we are, and how we should live this life with an idea that we are a spirit in the body. So this was given in the ancient system of education by the Guru. What the Guru used to do as soon as the child goes to him is to first give him or her, even to girls, Gayatri Mantra. Dhiyo yona prachodaya. Later times, unfortunately, the priestcraft came in, commercialization of spirituality, knowledge. Therefore, they said Stri and Shudra should not have access to Gayatri and Vedas and so on. Sri Shudra is a very complicated term here. With a vengeance now, the women are taking to Vedanta much more than men. And in India, you will see all the mobile phones. The ringtune is Tatsavidur Varenyam Gayatri Mantra. And chanted by Anuradha Parwal, who is a woman. Now, those days are gone. The great acharyas once again came in the form of Vivekananda, etc. There is a purpose. We'll not go into the history of it. Now, the dhi has to be awakened. The dhi is not the buddhi in the common parlance of intellect. It is the dhi which is an intuitive faculty apart from the buddhi, higher than the buddhi, by which you develop the capacity to be able to intuit higher spiritual truths. It is also called the medha. It's called dharana shakti, the capacity to hold spiritual truths. The Medha Suktam, the famous Suktam in the Vedas, talks about how when the Medha is awakened, you are entering a new world of spirituality. The Medha Devi is supposed to be standing at the threshold, and the moment you go there, the Medha says, welcome to the spiritual world, sir. And then you enter, sir, ma'am. So this Medha Devi, Medha is called the Dhi. Another word which the Yoga Sutras use is Pragya. Pragya, Ratambhara Pragya, and then Pragya Aloka is the light of consciousness. And this is considered as a light. Not the physical light, not the light of the moon or the sun or the fire, but the light of lights. Tat Shupram, Jyotisham, Jyotihi, Tadyad Atmavido, Viduho, Lokaparusha. It's called the light of all lights. Light is used in the sense that it is revealing. It reveals to you, everything to you. It is also self-revealing. And the experience of the yogis and the saints and the Vedantas is that when the Kundalini awakens and reaches the heart, you see a mysterious light. The Christian mystics also vouched for it. Those of you who read the famous book Mysticism by Underhill, uncreated light is the word used by the Christian mystics. You see a light which has no creation. And then Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, says, what is this? Kind of a peculiar light you feel, and the beauty about this light is you feel you are that light. When I see this light, I don't feel I am this light. You are this light, you feel this. And it is accompanied, usually, by listening to a mysterious sound, which is not created. This is also an experience which is mentioned in the scriptures, and the yogis have vouched for this. How is sound produced? By striking? No sound. Something should strike against the other. A sound which is produced without striking has got ahata, means strike. That which is not produced by striking is called anahata. Anahata dhvani is well known in Vedanta and Yoga. The anahata dhvani has no beginning because it is not struck and no end. If it is beginningless and endless, it has to be eternally existing. This anahata dhvani, yogis say, is called pranava dhvani, Om. The Om is constantly, eternally existent, and it is a light of consciousness. It is realized when the yogi or Vedantin reaches his consciousness in the heart, the Vijnanamaya. Now, you have reached this far in the journey of spirituality, spiritualizing yourself individually. You have known yourself with individual spirit. Now, at that point of time, the yogi first feels, how am I related to the cosmic? This is a profound question which we do not ask. We need to ask ourselves how we are related to this universe. How we are related to the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets and the environment. Environmental activists are now saying, you should know how you are related to the plant. How you are related to your dogs and cats which you have at home. How you are related to the entire universe. Because our entire life is dependent on relationships. Life is a movement in relationships. So how you are related as an individual spirit to the entire universe. The cosmic spirit, if there is one which is animating this entire universe, enveloping this entire universe, how this individual spirit is related to the cosmic spirit. There are several methods by which this can be explored. One direct method is through sannyasa. I will not enter into that for you at the moment. The sannyasa method is directly you go and realize yourself to be one with the infinite spirit. The mantras are given to you, the Tattvamasi and the Mahavakyas, and several other mantras are given to you. Where the Guru says, you are that entity, come on, go. Tattvamasi. And a qualified disciple immediately says, oh sir, my master, I am that infinite self, must be. Full stop, period, finished. If you are not that much blessed, let us go for slowly. There are other methods. The mantra which you have normally is energized by the power of tea. So far, we didn't have energy, spiritual energy to energize all that we have. Our everyday actions, everyday thoughts, everyday relationships, all of them are charged, purified and energized by the power of tea or the mela. The entire world has seen a new light. The Upanishads say, the individual spirit which we have, which is the Jivatman, has now to walk to a cosmic level. This is known as the cosmic counterpart of the individual Vijnanamaya. Is it becoming too much for all of you? No. The individual spirit, which is the Jivatman, has a cosmic dimension. And the cosmic counterpart of the individual Vijnanamaya is called Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, please remember this word. Hiranyagarbha is an important person. Hiranyagarbha, if you can somehow make friendship with Hiranyagarbha, you are done. Hiranyagarbha also is called Mahat in Sankhya. Sankhyans use the word Mahat. There is a famous verse in the Kathopanishad in which Indriyebhyo parahirtha arthebhyascha param mana manasastu para buddhir buddhir atma mahan paraha. Mahan atma is the Hiranyagarbha. There Shankara's commentary. Avyaktat prasamam jatam hiranyagarbham tattvam. He uses Mahat as Hiranyagarbha tattva. Vedanta calls it Hiranyagarbha, the Sankhya calls it Mahat. In simple parlance, you call it cosmic mind. I'll give you a very simple example. When the buddhi in you is awakened, the dhi, everybody has buddhi to some extent. Even a plant or an animal or a cat or a dog. In fact, the ants have much more intelligence than we have. You can say somehow you are trying to outwit the ant by placing it somewhere and surrounding it with a pool of water. I have seen ants swimming across and then taking that. They form a path, and a few ants form a path, and over that other ants go. You know the intelligence of mosquitoes? Because I come up with plenty of mosquitoes. I watch them intensely because I'm always interested in what's happening in life itself. You do not know how much of intelligence God has given to the mosquitoes. I'll tell you a story which I actually saw. If I were like Sheila having a photograph, a camera, that would have been that number one world prize I would have got for that. I'll tell you what happened. we use mosquito curtains because the mosquitoes are terrible. The downside of it is, if mosquitoes enter, they can't escape. They constantly keep biting you. If you did not have the mosquito curtain, you could drive them away. But if one or two enter, they can't go out. They constantly keep on biting you. So one mosquito was troubling me. I had a deal with the mosquito. I said, poor fellow, I have so much of blood God has given me. He needs only this much. You take as much as you want. Please don't give me malaria. That was the deal. Now this fellow drank. Now I was amazed. Whole night I couldn't sleep. He drank its full. I could see its stomach was bulging. So much it drank. Because my blood preparators were very tasty. Then slowly it moved out to the edge of the curtain. On the other side I saw a small little mosquito, son or a daughter of this mosquito, was sitting there, and it put its neck out, and like a syringe the other fellow was completely drawing the whole thing out. You cannot imagine. If I had a camera, a video camera at that, then it emptied its belly, came back again to bite. Then I said, for this one task you take as much blood as you want. Who has given this mosquito so much of intelligence? Now, suppose you take the aggregate of all the intelligences of all the beings in this universe. Just imagine. How many beings are there in this whole universe? How many human beings are there? About 6 billion. 7 billion people, human beings. Non-human beings, including fishes and insects and all that, there will be several trillion perhaps. Take the intelligences of all the beings put together, called a samashti, and imagine a consciousness which is covered by this intelligence. Technically, upahita. Samashti buddhi upahita chaitanya. That is the technical term for Hiranyagarbha. Think of that cosmic intelligence. And realize that your intelligence is a part of that cosmic intelligence. This is the next exercise. The first exercise to realize that you are the conscious entity who is the Jivatma. The next is to realize you are a part of this entire cosmic existence. Becoming one with that will come later. First realization, then what you do is, the Upanishad says, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the Hiranyagarbha, the Anahata is 4, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, then Anahata. So enter at the lobby, going up, 4th floor. Press 4, where do you want to go? I want to go to Anahata, go to the 4th floor. Then come out and walk horizontally through the corridor to go to the cosmic Hiranyagarbha. This method is mentioned in the Upanishad. The verse is, those who are interested, Yached Vang Manasi Pragya Tadyached Jnana Atmani Jnanamatmani Mahadini Yached Tadyached Shanta Atmani. The mind has to be merged in the Hiranyagarbha, the individual self, which is the Anahata, which is the Vijnanamaya, and this has to be merged in the cosmic intelligence, which is the Hiranyagarbha. Then when you go there, a whole world of light opens to you. So don't think I have realized all this. I am just quoting from the scriptures, which I believe 200% to be true. So a whole world of light opens to you. The first time you see yourself as a completely different human personality. Your face will change, your face will shine with light, and your attitudes will change, and infinite compassion and love for everybody will open up within you. You see the whole universe is in you, and you are in the entire universe. Sarva bhutastamatmanam sarva bhutani jatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshaya, the Bhagavad Gita. The person who sees the entire universe in all beings in me and me in all beings, such a person realizes me to be the supreme, the Bhagavad Gita. So when you go to that place, from there just a step forward, you go to the Supreme Being which is beyond all names and forms. Now we need not go that far. If you go to Hiranyagarbha, it is good enough for us. Even if realizing that you are the spirit. So you need to recapitulate. To spiritualize your life, first have the attitude that you are a spirit in a body. That is the first step. You are not a body in which the spirit dwells, but you are a spirit fundamentally. Identify yourself constantly with that spirit. Whenever you are unhappy, whenever you feel pain in the body or the mind, realize the mind and the body are paining, but I am a spirit inside the body. Of course there is pain in the body. Of course the Jivatma feels the pain, but reverse the roles of the body and this matter and the mind and the spirit. I am a spirit living in the body, and I am seeking what is the relationship of my individual spirit with the cosmic spirit. This is very important because you can't live without being related to people. Ultimately, what is the end and aim of Vedanta? Shankara and everybody beautifully says, Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. He becomes a repository of goodness and love and compassion in which the entire universe is included. He throws waves of love everywhere, and he is concerned about every being in this universe. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Shankara says in the Vekachudamani, Vasantaval Loketam Charanta, like gentle breeze which is blowing and bringing goodness and coolness and purity to all beings. He is moving around, his presence is a blessing. His words are a blessing. By his very presence and words, he is purifying the entire universe. Santo bhumim tapasa dharayanti. There is a statement in Sanskrit. These great saints are holding the universe from falling apart through the power of their tapasya. So you realize yourself as the infinite. Somehow or other we should realize our infinite dimension. We can't, like babies, remain encased in this body anymore. We should be restless to come out of the bondage of this body, like a lion which is trying to get out of the cage. Swamiji always, Vivekananda used to say, Nirgacchati jagatjala pinjaradiva keshari. Like a lion trying to get out of the body, the cage. He shakes this cage apart and breaks free. So that kind of freedom which you achieve, even in a limited way you will feel free. You will feel so free internally. Outwardly you may be moving around and laughing and crying. But inwardly you feel so free, and you will be able to accommodate the entire universe in your heart. Think of the space within. There's a great space within you. That's a different topic altogether. Vedanta has discovered, apart from the space which you have outside called Mahakasha, which is Chitta Akasha, in which the thoughts remain, beyond that the space of consciousness we call Chidakasha. The Chidakasha with the supreme consciousness, the entire universe is accommodated. You, he, she, everybody, the entire universe is in me. You realize yourself as I am the universe and the universe is me. This realization has come to a great Rishi. She was a woman. In the Rig Veda, her name is Vak. She realized this infinite dimension and found that I am, says, Aham Rudre Bhirvasubhascharamyaham Adit. I am in, suddenly say, oh, I am in the sun, I am in the moon, I am in this tree, I am everywhere. And all the gods and goddesses are also included in me. All the gods and goddesses are so compared to my glory. The gods and goddesses, the glory of gods and goddesses is nothing. I am the greatest god that ever existed. Vivekananda once said, in the West, because they always considered themselves sinners, never forget the glory of human nature. Buddhas and Christs are the waves of the infinite ocean which I am. So Vedanta puts you, the I, the supreme self, at the center of the whole universe. The whole universe is contained within you. Think of the joy of connecting with the entire universe at one stroke. You are the infinite ocean in which so many universes and worlds and beings and animals and plants are rising and falling like waves. The Ashtavakra Samhita has this anubhuti, the realization, Mai Ananta Maham Bodho Ascharyam Jiva Vichaya Ujjanti Khalanti Khelanti Pravishanti Swabhavataha. I am that infinite ocean of consciousness and bliss in which so many jivas and so many worlds are rising and falling. They're rising at one moment, staying for some time, and then again falling. I am that infinite ocean. So identifying yourself with that infinitude gives you so much of broadness. All littleness, narrowness, jealousies and quarrels and hatred will simply vanish, and the world will be a much better place to live in. Even in imagination, if you can do this imagination is based upon truths, the realization of the rishis, realization of the saints and sages and prophets and avatars and incarnations of all religions all over the world for thousands of years. So even if you base upon this, you will feel released. So there's a kind of Vedantic psychotherapy. Realize yourself with the infinite. Identify with the infinite. Yad bhuma vaitat sukham nalpe sukham asti. Chandakapar says, there is a joy only in the infinite. In littleness there is no joy. So come out of the little holes and see how the entire world is opened up to you. You come to a world of light, world of consciousness, world of purity and bliss, and you live your life as a blessed human being, bringing blessedness to everybody, and your presence will be a blessing to everybody, and your words will tell like thunderbolt if you have realized it. Hundreds of thousands of such people have been walking upon this earth, and India has thousands of them, is having and will be having. And we are blessed to be in their company through the great thoughts which they have given us. And I'm very happy that all of you listened to me, these great words, and I was able to share this experience with all of you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.